Hi guys, it's me Karen from Karen's Intuitive Jewelry. I'm gonna go ahead and make another moonstone pendant with copper. I'm practicing on copper because it's way more affordable than sterling silver, especially when I'm just getting back into it. So this is another gorgeous Rainbow Moonstone and heart shape, which shapes are a little bit more challenging when shaping and soldering your bezel wire. And this is called gallery wire, as opposed to just plain undecorative bezel wire. So here we go. I already measured out and cut a piece of 24 gauge copper sheet metal. And now I'm going to shape the bezel wire. And because this has quite a curve there, I'm gonna use my bale step making pliers just to gently bend a part of the beginning of this in there, as you can see, to give me a benefit, right? And holding that very firmly, just form your wire around and then give an approximate, and you would mark it with a very thin tipped Sharpie, right? And then using the flat end, make sure it's the flush end, you would snip it right there to get a flat end. You can use scissors, you can use a saw. I'm not great at sawing, but yeah, I already pre-did this one. I'm gonna have to measure it or file it a little bit, because you can see there's more gap around the stone than I need, and we always want as tight a fit as we can get. And when I go ahead and solder it, I'm gonna not try and solder it this way. It's gonna be flat, and you'll see. I'm gonna try and show you that this, even though I've cut it and I've filed it, is still showing a slight gap, and so that can't be there. It has to be exactly flush, and so that is always a challenging part for me, but I'm gonna continue. Here I'm applying a little bit of flux, and then a key I did learn also from all the tutorials was to go ahead and heat this up before you put your little pallion on, so that the flux turns white and gets a little tacky, so that your pallion doesn't jump all over the place and leave you with no solder on your join area. I struggled with that a lot in the beginning, like, what is going on? I couldn't keep the little itty bitty piece of pallion right where I wanted it, because if you put the pallion on and then you put, and the flux is still liquid, when you apply this high heat, the flux bubbles. So of course anything that's on or near the flux is going to bubble and fly around as well. So that was a really helpful little tip, because now when I apply heat, the flux will not bubble again. Okay, so I'm gonna cut off a half a piece of the hard solder because I don't need all that. So I don't know if you can see that little bitty 1 millimeter piece of solder, and I'm gonna cut it in half with this itty bitty tweezer and my flush cutters with my shaking. I just use it to get that little piece in there, and then I'm gonna cup my hand so it doesn't go flying. And so there's the 2 pieces. Wow, wow, wow. Here we go. I don't think I'm gonna be able to do this on camera, but maybe I'll try. So you guys can see. It's hard enough for me to see. Just to pick this little piece of Palion up now that it's a half a millimeter and place it there. And then another little tool is this titanium pick. Now another technique that a lot of people use is called pick soldering, which to me is really hard because you have to have the pick, obviously, in your dominant hand and use the torch in your non-dominant hand. And I'm just not that good at it yet. You know, that's my non-dominant hand, and I'm trying to direct this flame to one special little area. So I kind of wing it and try to do the best I can with placing the solder, and then trusting that it's not going to fly away. So again, it's key. So here we have the flame, and we're not going right on the solder because solder follows heat. And that's another big lesson I had to learn. So you want to heat the whole piece up, really, or you'll melt your piece if you direct your flame on the solder. It'll melt it. I don't think it's melted yet. You'll kind of see the solder get really, see, I think it moved. And let's see if I can, no, I can't do it. Okay, let me evaluate this and maybe try and put this other little Palion, and you can see how dark this is, which then is scary that I might melt. Darn it. You can't go in there with your hand because it's blazing hot. All right, let's try that again. See the challenges. So again, I'm not trying to heat the actual solder, I'm just trying to heat the piece, the whole metal. There it went. You can see when the solder kind of flashes, I think it went, it'll get kind of a flashy. Okay, so now I need to drop this puppy. I can pick this up and drop this into that's very hot. So use my other pliers to drop it in the quench bowl. Don't touch any of this. This is super hot. Okay, it's cool now. I can touch that. And here's what it looks like. And this is why you have to pickle it. Isn't it a gross mess? But I think it's soldered. You can see the area. Oh, it did. Yay. So excited. Okay, now I'm gonna go put it in the pickle pot, and then this will clean up a little bit, and then before I shape it around the stone, I wanna clean it up as much as possible. I'll be back. And this is what it looks like after coming out of the pickle pot. It's much cleaner, but it's dull. So I'm gonna clean it up even more, especially on the inside, because once you put it onto the back plate, it's hard to get down in there, especially when you have all these decorative holes and dips and stuff. And you'll notice that when I soldered it, it's not in the shape of the heart, because it's just not possible to do that dip where I had cut it. And so I've seen people take a bezel for a round stone and almost make it square, so that it's just easier to have your two ends line up straight, if that makes any sense. Okay, I'm going to polish this up a little bit more, not go crazy, mostly on the inside, because of course it's going to look like it did prior to the pickle pot. Once I solder it onto here, it's all going to get all nasty again. So, okay, I'll be back. Okay, so I didn't go crazy, but it's definitely cleaner. And that's hard to find even tools to get down on the inside in particular, especially when you shake and you're trying to hold on to things and blah, blah, blah. Okay, hopefully now I can try and shape a heart out of this wire. Let's see if I can do this. I might have to do this off camera, but we'll see. And I think I'm going to leave that part alone and focus on a bend in a different area. I've never made a heart before, or many different, well, that wasn't too bad, but let's see. Oh, well, look at that. So that worked. And I'm okay with there being a little bit of play. I can move that around a little bit. Okay, next step coming up is to solder this onto this back plate. Okay, I just wanted to point out that why there's different solders, such as hard, medium, and easy, is because you're doing multiple soldering applications. So this was one application, right, to solder this piece closed. So I used the highest heat melting point solder, hard solder for this, because when I then go to solder this onto the back plate, it's going to get reheated again and could easily pop open. So the idea is to then use the next lower melting point. This is 1360, so a medium solder, because it only has to get this temperature to melt. And so that join with a higher temperature melt should stay closed as you're soldering this piece on there. And so then the same thing when you get ready to solder the bail on, you can step down to a even lesser melting point, so that this not only stays connected, but it stays attached to the back plate. Does that make sense? It didn't to me in the beginning, but it does now. So for this next step, I have the medium solder, and I have 3 little bitty pallions that I'm going to cut in half and place strategically around this back plate and bezel after I flux it. Okay, so again, I'll try to show you guys, but we'll see. Because this is the hardest part for me. And then the attaching of the bail. I don't know why. I think I'm nervous, or I don't know. But anyway, okay, I'm going to cut these in half. Actually, I have to back up a step before I even go and try to solder it. I have to evaluate, and you can clearly see the gap between the bezel and the back plate, because you got to remember, yeah, I can push it down with my fingers now, but I can't apply that kind of pressure with my hands with that flame. So I got to go over and try and get this more level. So let's see what I can do with that. That's been the key. Okay, I think I got it. Looks pretty flat, and I hope this stays in position. So I'm going to go ahead and put the, and you'll see I'm using this little thing called a trivet. I don't want to move everything because I just got it straightened, but it's to kind of keep things balanced, and you can try to heat from underneath. Yeah, all this complicated stuff. But anyway, all right, let's heat up this flux and see how we do. You'll see again, I'm kind of going around, heating everything up. I'm not putting direct heat because I don't want to risk burning that beautiful bezel wire. Okay, you see the flux all bubbled up, and it makes it a little tacky. So now I'm going to put our little cut up pieces of Pallion in there. And then I will move it around once I get everything in there. And I shouldn't need more than 4 pieces. And that might even, and it's not 4 pieces really, it's only 2 Pallions that I cut up. Okay, now I'm going to take my little pick and make sure that the solder is touching both areas. Otherwise it won't, it'll just melt and it won't attach. And here's my, where my shakes really bother me. I think I'll move this. I can barely see that little piece of solder. Make sure it's touching. And move this one over. Now with the people that pick solder, I get the benefits. And they even, like, they'll if it's Pallion, or you can get solder in wire form, but they melt the solder first into a little ball, and then they're able, then this is heated up, the titanium pick, and they just pick up the solder little ball and place it where they want it while they're applying the heat. But as I said, I am not that talented yet. I hope to get there someday. But okay, let's see. This has got to heat up to 1360 degrees consistently. And I'm not going to talk while I'm soldering. I got to pay attention. went. That piece went. It's not really going where I want it to go. Let's see if I can move the solder. I don't know if it works that way. I don't think it really did it. And this is where I'm still learning. Okay, where is my pliers? Where are the pliers? Make sure you always have your tools around. Yeah, I don't think it did it. But if it didn't get a good connection, I'll have to pickle it to get all of the residual off, reflux it, recut some solder, and try it again. So let me have a better look. And it did in some areas, but I don't think it did. And again, I'll have to clean it up to really be able to see it, but I don't think it did. It may in a couple of areas. Let me go check. And as suspected, indeed, it did not connect to all spots. It did in a couple of spots, but not everywhere. So that means I have to do the process all over again. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Let me cut up my, in fact, I think I'm gonna go rest because I'm getting shaky already because I get flustered. So I'm gonna take a little break and then I'll come back. Ooh, that was hard. It actually took me 5 attempts to get that sucker soldered on there. Can you believe it? And that entailed pickling it, cleaning it, recutting the little solder, fluxing it, heating that up, putting the solder in. Yeah, so a lot goes into creating this way, at least in the beginning. So now that I got that on, I kind of cut some of the excess off. I'm not looking to get a perfect heart shape. I just want something that's pleasing to the sight. And you know what I just noticed? I did not put my initials on. And guess what? That's too late now, because there's no way I can risk damaging this. Unless, of course, I could find something in there, which would be next to impossible. Anyway, oh well. That's just another step, right? I was so focused on this bezel that I totally skipped that step. Anyway, I'm just smoothing out these. Again, I said I'm not looking for a perfect shaped heart, just something that will be appealing. Okay, and now I gotta figure out the bail. I think I'm going to use a similar rolled bail like I did on the last one, and I stamped that with little hearts. And then I'm gonna try and get these little hearts, at least a couple of them, around here. But I have to clean all that up first. And so yeah. You guys, I figured it out. I stacked some dimes in the center of this, making sure the dimes were higher than the bezel, and I taped it down onto my block, and I didn't go for a full-on deep, but I got it. Isn't that funny? The things I obsess over. Okay, just wanted to share that with you. Now on to doing this little bail, which I'll say is sometimes a struggle for me, for sure. I don't know why, because now we're dealing with the softest solder, the lowest heat, but I think it just has something to do with, in my mind, I'm like, oh, this is the last step, and what if I mess it up, and blah, blah, blah. So we'll see. Maybe y'all will bring me good luck. Okay, now we got to put the solder on there. I'm going to try and do a combination of sweat soldering and I think just sweat soldering. And I honestly have only done, oops, wonder where that, oh, there it is. I've only tried sweat soldering and soft soldering. So we'll see how this goes. I think we've got to get that kind of melted, that solder. There's a piece, and that other piece, finally. And then I'm turning this down onto here. And I think for security, I'm going to put a couple little pieces of solder next to it. And here we go. We shall see. Okay, let's see. By golly, I think it worked. So look how disgusting that looks. Into the pickle pot. And I patinaed it and polished it up a little bit. That's certainly not done yet. I'm not going to worry about the inside. That's too hard to get to, and it shouldn't cause a problem. My main concern now is if the stone still fits. So let's try that. Again, using this little piece of dental floss. I see a problem over here. This is kind of collapsed in a little bit. That can sometimes happen with polishing. That would be a shame, wouldn't it? But like I said, it's been known to happen. Oops. I think it's gonna be good enough for me. So let me take that dental floss out. wonder. Let's see. Really hard to get in there. And they're very limited. I mean, I can do the very center. Oh boy, and that's the problem too. So let me see if I can get that a little bit better. I got it a little bit, and I'm sure, you know, more experienced, I'm sure metalsmith people have all those intricate little tools and precision tools and all that good stuff to make this piece perfect. But as you can see, it's not perfect. It's a little bit off center. The bail, once I do the bail, it's really shows how lopsided it is, but I'm wondering what else I could do. And I suppose I could maybe round this edge a little bit more in. That might help. And then maybe just do a hole right at the peak. But we'll see. I can maybe always adjust that. I don't think it'd be too hard to get all this out. But I don't think I'm going to be that picky. I'm just starting out. Like I said, total, I've got less than 5 months of experience into this, and I'm pretty happy with what I'm able to accomplish at this point. So it's only going to get better as long as my neck holds up. So I think we tested this already. Yeah, it works for me. So here we go. Ooh, it's so pretty. It's so pretty. Oh my gosh. Okay. So again, we're going to do like we did last time and start at the peak points. So we did north, south, east, west, and then back up here and back down here. And then I think, yeah, that doesn't even move. So we're pretty safe just to go for it. There's no wobble in the stone, which I'm super happy with. Wow. Yeah, I love this. And I'm going to go ahead and burnish this. Being mindful of this gorgeous stone, because that would be a shame, wouldn't it? And you see this bezel's pretty cool. It's different than the last one I used. And this burnishing brings that shine out on those points a little bit better. I love it. Okay, let's get my, let's see if this will work. And there it is, guys. Oh my goodness. I just love her. And you can see, I had somebody else comment on the last video about there is copper paste, and I know that, and that wasn't the point that I was making. The point I was trying to make is that you can buy things that say they're copper. Let's see. Here's copper paste. But when you actually solder it, it still turns silver. I even have copper solder wire. I have a whole lot of that a jeweler gave me. But it will still turn silver when it's melted. So that was the point I was making. So the patina helps because it draws your attention away from the silver, but you can see the silver around the edges, right? You can definitely see it on the join on the back. So that's just part of it. But look how, I'm in love with this. And these pieces, unless somebody specifically asks for them, they're, you know, part of my personal collection, especially because I'm learning. Because right now, I got 5 hours, at least 5 hours into this piece. So to recoup my money, I'd have to sell this for over $100. And I just don't feel right about doing that. But isn't it gorgeous? I don't know about you, but I'm in love. Okay, guys. Hope you enjoyed this last one. And thanks for watching. Let me know what you'd like to see next. Otherwise, I'm going to keep playing with this hard soldering since it's been almost a year that I was able to do it. And I'm just so thrilled to be able to come back. So I'm still practicing with copper. I do have some sterling silver pieces out, but I need some more practice before I go and jump in there. But that's coming. Okay, thanks so much, guys. I appreciate you. Bye.